remember telling like some of my friends, I went to a very good high school, like kind of like the rich high school, not the high school I should have gone to. I was able to go to this different high school. And I would remember, I would tell them like, hey, this is like, yeah, I would be so ashamed that I worked at Burger King. They would sometimes come by, and I would just be like, oh, fuck, like, and then at some point, it was like this release moment where I was like, this is my life. Like, I can't do anything about it. This is what it is right now. And I kind of had a sense that I could figure some stuff out later, but I didn't really know. And so I just accepted it. And then the minute I accepted it, I wasn't ashamed anymore. And then when I wasn't ashamed, I could start to actually be inside my head like, what really mattered? So it just completely rewired what money was. For Terry Matthews, money was an instrument of change, right? He had a market cap. He's like, wow, that's $8 billion of change, $10 billion of change, $15 billion of change. And Sam helped me because it was just like, you could understand from him what Terry cared about. And then for me, I just copied. I mean, a lot of my life, quite honestly, is just copying things that I see. There's not a lot of original thought here. It truly is not. I mean, we can all pretend we're all fucking geniuses. Honestly, be good copiers. Do you know what I'm saying? It's the best thing in the world. Like, be around high-functioning, high-quality people and just copy the shit that they do. Observe the shit that's, you know, kind of crappy, and then don't do that stuff. It's not a fucking complicated formula. There's about 150 people that run the world. Anybody who wants to go into politics, they're all fucking puppets, okay? There are 150, and they're all men, that run the world, period, full stop. They control most of the important assets. They control the money flows. And these are not the tech entrepreneurs. Now, they are going to get rolled over the next 5 to 10 years by the people that are really underneath pulling the strings. And when you get behind the curtain and see how that world works, what you realize is it is unfairly set up for them and their progeny. Now, I'm not going to say that that's something that we can rip apart, but first order of business is I want to break through and be at that table. That's the first order of business. And the way that I do that is by proving that I can do what they do as well as they do it. And then do it better than how they do it. Because at the end of the day, they are commercial fucking animals, okay? And they'll open the door out of curiosity and they'll let me stay because I add value. And then once I'm there, I can open the door for other people who can try to do the same thing. So my entire goal now is to be in a position to aggregate enough of the capital of the world to then reallocate it against my worldview. And I'm not saying my worldview is the best or right, but it is mine. And at the end of the day, there are 150 other fucking guys with their worldview, and they don't give a shit what you think about their fucking worldview. That's the truth. To be extremely dedicated, in their case, to something which is physical fitness because they're professional athletes. When I give up, right, when the average human gives up, their brain goes into fucking overdrive, okay? And they're like, there's this next level burst. And so like, it's that. Yeah. It's like when things get hard, can you double down? A different example, we had yesterday, we do these things every quarter called quarterly portfolio reviews, where incredibly intensive review of our entire portfolio, revisiting our strategy, talking about all the things we're doing to make sure we're on the right track. And I had this observation, which was, I started a diabetes business, but that business took 7 years to get to a place where we even have a chance of being viable. And I think to myself, in that example, I embodied a bit of Caroline Wozniacki. When things got hard, I pushed through the pain. Now, in my case, the pain was the fear of failure, continuing to write more money, a belief that I had that this business was going to work. And today, that business manages 1 million diabetics. I, as a capitalist, want a starting line where all of those people can run a race so that I can pick the winner. No offense to any of you here. And it took us 3 years where now those building blocks exist, and I'm like, wow. How many times did I have to look at my partners and say, no, the easy answer is to walk away, the hard answer is to double down, we have to support this business. That culture is missing here. So part of what we're trying to do to achieve those goals is like take really big, audacious points of view on the world and then train ourselves to be patient. And it's really, really hard. The entire society is set up to not be patient anymore.
And I'm hearing also a conflict with this like fail fast and learn mentality where if you're taking a deep and big bet, like you want it to be the right one, how do you know when that's true?
I think that fail fast approach works in consumer internet businesses, but I don't think it works for anything that really matters. Basically. Consumer internet businesses are about exploiting psychology. By the way, if it works, it's where all the money comes. Like if you talk about where all of the gains, where all of the value will be created over the next 50 years, it'll be in those hard things. And the reason is because those white spaces are so wide open. The competitive pressures are non-existent. For example, today you have this weirdly academic argument about climate change. It exists. It doesn't exist. Well, we were in an ice age. Now it's more. Of course, the Earth. Who cares? What's undeniable is that we're ripping apart the biodiversity of our planet. What is undeniable is that we as a human population will be forced to concentrate because certain parts of the world will get basically, subsumed by water. We do not have food supplies. These are conclusively known to be true. Yet nobody's really working on a problem. And part of it is because the people won't have the ambition to try to go after it. The capital markets don't reward that kind of decision making. But if somebody were to solve it, don't you think that they are, in economic terms, a multi-trillionaire? Of course. You think food delivery is where like the next great fucking breakthrough is gonna come? You're all hopped up on fucking marijuana and you need a fucking brownie at midnight. Like, what a joke. And go and look through Crunchbase and all the shitty, useless, idiotic companies that have gotten funded doing garbage like that versus climate change. We have created tools that are ripping apart the social fabric of how society works. That is truly where we are. And I would encourage all of you, as the future leaders of the world, to really internalize how important this is. If you feed the beast, that beast will destroy you. If you push back on it, we have a chance to control it and rein it in. And it is a point in time where people need to hard break from some of these tools and the things that you rely on. The short-term dopamine-driven feedback loops that we have created are destroying how society works. No civil discourse, no cooperation, misinformation, mistruth. And it's not an American problem. This is not about Russian ads. This is a global problem. So we're in a really bad state of affairs right now, in my opinion. It is eroding the core foundations of how people behave by and between each other. And I don't have a good solution. My solution is I just don't use these tools anymore. I haven't for years. Imagine like when you take that to the extreme, where bad actors can now manipulate large swaths of people to do anything you want. It's a really, really bad state of affairs. And we compound the problem, right? We curate our lives around this perceived sense of perfection because we get rewarded in these short-term signals, hearts, likes, thumbs up, and we conflate that with value and we conflate it with truth. And instead what it really is fake brittle popularity that's short-term and that leaves you even more, and admit it, vacant and empty before you did it. Because then it forces you into this vicious cycle where you're like, what's the next thing I need to do now? Because I need it back. Think about that compounded by 2 billion people. And then think about how people react then to the perceptions of others. It's really bad.
To do about it once they get into that spot?
Get the money. Get the money. And then let's get around a table and let's create new rules. Literally that simple. Get the fucking money. I'm serious. Do not get it. It is going to be made. it is going to be allocated, and you have a moral imperative to make sure that if you have a point of view that matters and you want to reflect it, you get it. I'm going to go get it. Other people are going to go get it. And then it will be about a competition of views. And don't wrap yourself in all this like, you know, liberal kind of bullshit about like, oh my God, money, blah. No, stop. Here's how the fucking world works, okay? It drives the world for better or for worse. Economic incentives drive entire swaths of populations to behave in very, very predictable, and then when you take it away, unpredictable ways. Ask anybody in your class that's from a developing nation. Ask anybody in your class like who has seen that play out from where they're from. So that's what you have to do. You got to go and get it. Don't be a sellout. Whatever your worldview is, you should be spending time to think about what that is, so that when you control some of these purse strings, you push that view into the world. I will never judge you, and you should not judge me for what that worldview is. But the point is, the more diversity of those views, the more rational actors we have, and the more of a balanced, fair system. That is what diversity really means to me. It doesn't mean like, let's manage back to a quota. You know, it doesn't mean like, okay, we need a black guy, a brown guy, we need a few. That's not what it means. This is what it means. Right? There are people in this audience that have probably dealt with the same kind of like life that I've dealt with. You have a very unique worldview that matters. And in the absence of capital, you're irrelevant. With capital, you're powerful. And then you decide. In small ways, in medium-sized ways, in large ways, right? It just depends on the scale of capital that you have.